welcome to a little bit of a different episode of the Dive Into Reiki podcast. We already had in January an interview with Patrick Swen, who did a martial art called the Ido. Today, I introduce to you a person who's very special in my heart that I held when she was 2 or 3 days old. And she's now this amazing, incredible woman. I'm so proud of being her godmother. Goddaughter, godmother. That's a very difficult word in English when you have
Madrina.
Madrina is our favorite word. Nina Machnowski. Nina?
Hi, my name is Nina Machnowski. I currently live in North Carolina in the mountains of Brevard, so it's Western North Carolina, and I am a professional gravel cyclist and mountain bike racer.
And the reason I'm having Nina in the podcast today is literally she's been able to be disciplined and practice and do amazing things since she's a teenager. And it's funny, like she trains physically, but also she runs sometimes for like 8 hours. It needs a lot of mental training. And I feel in Reiki, and this is a theme I've been bringing a lot, we're really not that great at practicing daily or just practicing consistently. And sometimes I think we see this as a beautiful healing modality, but we also forget meditation and Reiki are training of the mind. If the mind is not trained to stay focused, to be able to hold the space without being distracted, our Reiki practice will lack depth and will hit a wall, if you will. And also our sessions as practitioners are not going to be as deep as we could. And today I have a lot of dyslexia, so it's going to be a fun interview. And again, embracing the moment in that sense. So I wanted to just hear about Nina, how she got into mountain biking and because you actually like the discipline and the structure of it, which is the opposite of 99% of Reiki practitioners, including myself. So I'm not judging. I'm literally interested because it's so hard for me to have a daily practice.
Yeah, so I got into mountain biking first when I was about 11 or 12 years old. I grew up in New Jersey, and my family was always outdoors oriented. I was always very driven to move my body and do some physical activity. So when I saw that mountain biking was something that my dad was doing and something that was happening in the community with some of my neighbors and friends, I really got inspired to take it on myself. And at first, like all things, my parents didn't want me to take it too seriously, just do it for fun and, do it as a way to get exercise, but also clear your head after class, after school. On the weekends, we would go to state parks and ride there. And then one day I was like, you know what, I want to take this seriously and I want there to be structure and I want to see improvements and train my body and my mind for this. So I decided to make that my priority in life.
And what is like the basic for you of creating like a discipline to train? Like what will be if you have to give 3 tips for people, I think in my case, it will be like literally the first one, shift thinking Reiki is a miracle or just an energetic healing into a training the mind, a practice as well. But what will be your 3 tips as a person who went from like taking writing as a joke, and now I have to say proudly that you won a huge race yesterday.
Yes.
So to literally like get into the point where you're winning race, you're coaching other athletes and actually making a career out of it.
Yeah, I'd say like start small and set smaller attainable goals. I think that, sometimes people get ahead of themselves when they put a goal too far in the future that's too big. Like I want to win state championships or I want to win this really big race. You're forgetting about the process and you're just looking at that end result. So instead of that, I think that it's most important to look at the process as the goal. So the process of, okay, just first getting on your cycling kit and then getting out there, making a route plan or making a workout plan. And even if you don't, hit all of your targets in a specific workout, or you don't perform as good as you thought you would in that specific workout, I think that acknowledging and giving yourself some grace and, being proud that you made that first step to do that in the first place, I think is the my number one tip.
And it's amazing. I'm going to translate into Reiki practice. Like, I will never think of that, but that is actually so important. I think also when we train in Reiki, they gave us a daily practice that is sometimes an hour and a half long. And we also expect to be able to heal other people, like a lot of lofty goals. I always tell people, be honest, go to your schedule. You may be someone juggling two jobs or a family in a job. Be honest about how much time you can practice and start small. Also, meditating is not easy. It's a little bit like you cannot run an 8-hour race without first doing half an hour.
You have to work your way up for it.
Yeah, so practice for 5 minutes every day, but consistency is going to actually be more important and grow from there. Or practice with the precepts. Choose one modality and just get familiar with it.
Finding what you enjoy too. Cycling, there are so many different workouts that you can do to improve. You can incorporate strength training, you can incorporate running, you can incorporate swimming. And some people, depending on their body or how their brain works, like one workout or another is not going to work for them. And I don't like to train generals. I don't like to say this is the best workout if you're training for this specific race. I like to say it's the best workout maybe for this person on this given day, and it might change tomorrow, it might change the next day. So adjusting based on that specific person and what works for you is also very important.
Yeah, you have thousands of practice, just choose yours. And you said something that is very beautiful. Give yourself some grace. So in Reiki, we have this precept of be compassionate to yourself and others. And so how do you give yourself some grace without also not becoming lazy? And I'm like, oh, grace, I'm not practicing today, I'll do it tomorrow. Like, how do you find that balance of grace and still be driven and actually like growing?
Yeah, that's a tough one. I mean, I think that if you're motivated in the first place to do any sort of practice, whether that's, training for a sport or training for meditation, you have that inside of you, like that motivation to keep going forward and to do it. So I think that you're already the kind of person that is going to be able to do that. You're capable of that. So just know that you have that within you, and know that, sometimes you do need to tell yourself when it's okay to slow down or it's okay to push to tomorrow, but also setting a goal for the end of the week, like saying, as long as I hit this amount of minutes or hours by the end of the week, as long as I make sure that my this is a nerdy term, a training stress score. So like the amount of fatigue that you build up in a week from training, as long as you hit that target by the end of the week, then you can know that you attained your goals for that given week.
And I like that because it's a mix of firm and flexible. You do have a goal, but you're flexible in the way you achieve it. So if one day crap hits the fan, like, it's okay. I can take today, I can go tomorrow and just do that. So that's a beautiful way of putting it.
I have another tip for getting into the structure of training and practicing. I think that identifying your why, so why you do it, and also how it makes you feel, and how
those are big ones. Yeah.
Why you do it, but objectively of like how this makes me a better person, or why this is good for my body or good for my brain. But then the how do you feel is reassuring your emotional side of it. So your connection to it. And it builds that base of it motivates you because it builds those two different aspects of why you do it.
And that is fantastic. Like, I think a lot of Reiki practitioners, they don't want to say it. I'm like the one who's like, no, I have so much to do. But when I do, I feel so much better. And my whole face smile like changes. I smile, I do little dances, and I'm more focused and actually do everything I have to do much faster. So that, and for me, the why also, I think in Reiki, sometimes we put the why on other people because as practitioners, we want, and I say, quote, healing other people because we don't do the healing, but we hold the space. We're very focused on others versus why. And you have to find your own why, not my why, not other podcast members' why, like your personal why. And then also allow that why to change, right? Yeah. My why at the beginning was like, I want to be stress-free. And then my why now is very different, but I still have a why that guides me.
Yeah. And also being in tune with your emotions and how you feel about the process on a daily basis. Sometimes it can be harder and you can be tough on yourself, but it's a beautiful thing that there are ebbs and flows, and there's good moments and bad moments, and embracing it all.
And I have to say, she's 22 years old. If I had that wisdom at 22, oh my God, like it's incredible. And I have to say, credit for your genetics and yourself and your inner work. And also have to do a shout out to my friend Gloria and her husband, who are amazing. Family group, and your brother is also amazing.
Yeah.
But I think that that is very important. And I also wanted to know, like, emotions in your body. Again, a lot of Reiki practitioners, they feel the body is in the way of spiritual development, but all our emotions and everything we feel is in the body.
Mhm.
So as an athlete, again, sometimes your body aches, emotions in the body. How do you handle that? And what's your relationship with the body as you practice?
Well, yeah, stress is not only mental stress, it's physical stress too. And your mind and body are so interconnected. And that's a huge thing that I practice for myself and with my athletes is trying to be in tune with my mind and my body. Because if, up here is a mess and tangled and I'm stressed out and I'm nervous before an event or being hard on myself after a workout, I'm going to feel that in my body. I'm going to feel the tension in my neck, my shoulders. Sometimes, like my stomach is very common. A lot of athletes get muscle spasms sometimes because they're so stressed. So I think that one of the best things that you can do to make sure that you're in tune with your mind and body, and one doesn't just kind of go too fast and the other is left behind, is you have to understand that, all the training that you do, all the practice that you do, whether that's a few minutes or hours or all day, every day, a few times a week, it doesn't matter. That experience is preparing your body for that moment of, performance, whether that's in Reiki and meditation or in an event, a race. So you're preparing yourself and you have to understand that, you are ready. So your mind, maybe you haven't done that practice or that race or that event yet, but your body is as prepared as it's going to be. So you have to catch your mind up with that and just be at peace with that and you trust that you're ready.
And that's amazing. And I love the language you use, right? Because it's so clear. I tell my students a lot, like, when you become a professional Reiki practitioner, if you do your daily practice, if you hydrate, eat decent, and show up, that's it. Like,
You've won already.
you won already.
Yeah.
Like, then the other person's work is like to do their own healing and you're supporting them. But that's your job, to actually do exactly that, to take care of your body, take care of your practice, and then show up.
That's the most that you can do. You can't
Yeah.
ask anything more from yourself.
And then sometimes, you win, and then sometimes things happen. In your case, you may have like a stone you didn't see and then go up
And
or
crash, or my stomach turns, or it's way hotter outside than I expected, or maybe I, didn't bring enough nutrition with me, but in the end, like, it's always a learning experience, and I just take that with me for the next event.
how do you rebound?
How do I rebound after a race, an event?
Like, no, imagine you win a bunch
Something-
of races, but imagine a bad race and you leave the race after like doing 100 miles and you got something happened, a cramp, like you fell. And how do you rebound emotionally? Because physically you have
Yeah.
your structure and your
Yeah, yeah.
process. But
I will have to say, I don't usually have to, even if everything goes wrong, even
Yeah.
if I have mechanicals, I crash, I get hurt. Sometimes I don't finish races and I have to call somebody to pick me up, or I have to ride to the finish and tell them that I DNF, which is called do not finish. I honestly, it doesn't affect me that badly emotionally. I'm of course hard on myself and I'm disappointed that that situation happened to me, but I know that if that didn't happen, then when I do win or I do well or the performance is as I planned the next time, then it's not going to feel as good, or like I'm not going to be as proud of myself that next time. So understanding that that's part of the process and just take it as a learning experience, like I said before. I just like, I see it as like I can just go back to training faster now, so it's about just moving forward and knowing that there are bad times and good times, and bad times don't have to be bad. They can be good too in different ways.
you're very grounded in your body and centered. No, because at the end, that's the beauty with athletes. I think they trust practice and they are very much in their body. So then your emotions are more stable because you are literally in your body, which is something we're not. People who do Reiki like me, like, I have a tough time. I go up and I need to bring myself down with a lot of grounding. And the other question I had is, for example, you just completed How many miles was your race, the Belgian Waffle thing?
That was 118 miles.
So I imagine by mile 76, your
Mhm.
body is aching, your mind is tired. How do you embrace that, but still focus? Because sometimes we practice 20 minutes and I'm already like, shopping on Amazon. My mind is away.
Yeah. So it's funny that you mentioned like mile 70, 76, because this is a known fact that about 60% into any workout or any practice, that is going to be the hardest moment to get over. So
Oh, wow.
60%. So if you're doing a workout, or if it's, you're lifting weights at the gym, or you're meditating, or you're running or cycling, whether that's a minute or 10 hours, that 60% mark. So if it's a minute, or if it's, say it's 100 minutes, at 60 minutes, it's going to be the hardest hump
Oh,
to get
wow.
over. If it's 10 hours, at the 6 hour mark, it's going to be the hardest to get over. So 100 miles, like 60 miles, is going to be that push that you need to get through. I think preparing yourself for that and knowing that that's going to be the mark where it's make or break. Like you either continue and keep pushing and keep going, and knowing that once you get over that hump, it's going to be easier through the end because adrenaline kicks in and you know that you're getting to the finish. So it kind of pushes you through the rest, but getting over that is the hardest part, but just preparing and knowing that it is coming up is the best thing to do.
So now that makes sense.
Yeah.
I do martial arts and at the dojo,
Yeah.
every New Year's we do 1,000 cuts and we separate it in 500, 500. And the part of between 300 and 420 is hell.
Yeah.
Getting to 300 is good. The last 50, we're like,
Yeah.
that part is hell. And now we know, so we push through. But the first year I was like, what is this? And I think with Reiki practice is the same. We have a session is 1 hour. Sometimes when we're like 35, 40 minutes into offering the session, your back aches, everything aches. We start like, so it's good to know, just like breathe and you'll move through it. Like in our case,
and
it's
it
all
gets
about breathing.
better.
It gets better.
Yeah.
And then suddenly, poof, it's over. You're like, oh my God, the session is
Yeah.
over.
Yeah, and I think that's also a beautiful part of that 60% mark, is that it is the hardest moment, but it is a beautiful thing to come out of that and be able to push through it and then finish a practice or a workout feeling strong again.
That's so knowing yourself in a way, knowing the practice, knowing yourself.
And then it's a common experience. It's not
Yeah.
just you. Like everybody usually around that 60% mark is struggling too. So, if you're with other people in the room or other people in a race, like look around you or feel the energy around you and know that you're not alone.
That is a beautiful thing, because I think we feel like everybody else doesn't struggle practicing, and we all do. I love to be very real on this podcast so people know, like, I struggle with everything and I've made every mistake in the past that you can do. And I will not be here without having done that and understanding that struggle. But knowing a bunch of people I interviewed, they also struggle, even the ones who said they don't.
Yeah, and it doesn't get easier. Your caliber just gets pushed up. So, I like to think of some of the top professional racers in the Tour de France, across the world that, maybe they train 30, 40 hours a week. As a reference, I train 10 to 16 hours a week. So, they're at a much higher caliber, but that doesn't mean that they're suffering less. It takes a lot more for them to get to that point, but they're still experiencing the same amount of struggles and they need the same determination to push through.
Yeah, to keep improving. And that takes me something we were talking about yesterday, about how you push your limits, how do you go deeper into your practice and not hit a wall. We were talking about that yesterday. So can you tell a little bit about that? How do you push the limits? How do you keep on growing? And also the mindset it requires to do that.
Yeah, I mean, I think that you don't want to set limits on yourself. You want to be realistic. And, sometimes, some of us are more scatterbrained and it's harder to ground yourself. And some of us aren't as disciplined with keeping a schedule. And I think that, understanding your limits, but also not setting those hard limits on yourself and saying, okay, maybe I can push past that a little bit, or maybe maybe I'm capable of a little bit more, is a healthy approach for that.
Yeah. And I think for Reiki practice, I think when we're trained, we're told this is it. You have an attunement, this is the practice. And I think it shifted that mindset to like, actually, there is more depth. Some people, my mentor, he's very focused. He can go deeper very fast. It took me a little bit more of time to focus. And then some people, they think I cannot do that. And that's what worries me. Like when we limit ourselves, we say like, oh no, I'm not like this person, I cannot do it. Well, maybe you cannot chant for 6 hours, but maybe you can do hands-on healing, or maybe you can read, reflect, find your own
Everybody
way.
has different strengths.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But, and also maybe you're not gonna go, I'm not gonna be the Dalai Lama. Like, well, maybe I will, but I don't see myself, but that doesn't mean I cannot deepen my practice to a place that benefits me and other around me. And I
Right.
think like sometimes it's we go back to what you said at the beginning, right? Like set a goal, but don't be limited and don't be it's so high that goal that you get disappointed and drop out of the practice. Like,
Yeah.
it's like we want to be perfect.
Yeah, the process is where you get all of the enjoyment and where all the growth happens. So if you're not enjoying the process, then how do you expect to enjoy the goal if you reach it? Because it's more likely than not that you're not going to reach it if you're not enjoying the process. So,
That is very wise.
yeah.
And it's funny because Reiki should be about relaxation and we tense up, right? Like we're like, oh, I want to be perfect. Why is this session not perfect? So letting go. And again, we go back also to the balance you said, grace, but still being present with your goal and your practice.
Yeah.
It's the weird things of going in the middle of the road of life, which is very Buddhism anyway, but it's very hard to achieve. Like, yeah. Nina, what are your goals for this year of races and everything?
Yeah.
Anything you would like to share?
Yeah, so I mean my race season started about in March, so I've had a good amount of races so far this year. But my biggest races of the season are coming up soon. In mid-July, I'm going out to a race called the Rift. It's a gravel cycling race. That's 200 kilometers in Iceland. And then from there, I'll be going to Switzerland for a 5-day mountain bike stage race. And I think that my goals there, these are my first trips to Europe, over the Atlantic, and I haven't raced in these specific places before. One of those races is a partner race, so I'm racing with a friend of mine from the town I'm in, and this is my first time racing with her. So there are a lot of first experiences here. So, my goal, and again, keeping it realistic, but also allowing myself to push my limits if that presents itself, is going there, experiencing it, do the best I can, understanding that everything thus far this season and these past few years have prepared me for this, and knowing that there are a lot of people there that support me regardless of how I place. It's not about the number of where I place among other people, but it's about feeling like all of my work has culminated to these great experiences and ability to travel here and race my bike and push myself. It's so special to, in this day and age, to be in a situation where you can push your body so hard and dig so deep within yourself to accomplish something. I think it's a very beautiful thing to reach those limits and see that side of yourself.
And proud madrina here is very excited, but I'm also very excited about how open you are about exploring life and experiences. And I think, again, it can be cycling, it can be Reiki. I think it's so important, as you said, to just be open to experience new things with the right mindset. And when we have the wrong days, just go to bed and start again the following day.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah. And yeah, and like when days don't go as planned, and maybe you don't have time for your practice, or things get out of control and you're stressed, or you're sick or something, and just doing what is right for you for that specific day is going to prepare you better for the next day and for the future. If you try to force yourself to do something that's just not right for that moment or that day, then you're going to end up loathing it. It's not going to be an enjoyable experience. So
those are amazing words. And you have tried Reiki a little bit. Any words about Reiki as we end the interview?
Yeah, I mean, I think that it's definitely different for me. It's always been hard for me to do any sort of meditation because, again, my mind is very sporadic, and really the only time where I feel the most grounded is when I'm riding my bike. So that's why I'm in that sport. But honestly, Reiki has challenged me in different ways that I didn't expect, and I think that being in a tune with where your energy is being held and where your stress is being held, creates this extra level of kind of understanding your body, and helps with like understanding where you hold your stress and your tension.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Dina. And again, I have a passion for like how to train the mind and how to practice. I struggle a lot. And when I hear you, I'm like, and the way you also, obviously, you're like a coach, so you know how to put
Yeah.
it very simply. But I really encourage people like to sometimes we read a lot of Reiki books, we hear a lot of Reiki stuff. But if you're struggling with daily practice, take these things from athletes, from sports, from other disciplines. We can get a lot of insights into the practice. And people who have heard this podcast before know I've learned so much from martial arts. In Reiki, probably I learned more from martial arts than a lot of Reiki teachers. So take stuff that is working from other stuff and bring them to your Reiki practice respectfully. When you teach, you still teach in Reiki, but those tips, they make sense. They're common sense. Set realistic goals, start small, right? Like enjoy the process, know your why, know your emotions. Those things, like they travel across disciplines and they may help you. So I'm so grateful. And you said yes to this interview today.
Yeah.
And obviously, I have to give her a hug that you're not going to see if you're listening to this, but I love this human being with all my heart and soul. And I have another very special interview coming after the one with Nina, also someone not into Reiki directly, but a person that has been training lately. And I will have that surprise just in case he cancels.
Exciting though.
It's exciting. I'm teasing you a little bit. So that will be a summer of really hearing about other people that can help you deepen your practice from a different point of view. So thank you so much.
Thank you for having me. Besos.
Besos. Bye, everyone. Thank you.